So you guys have made it abundantly clear that you want Crystal of Atlan videos. Who am I to take that away from you? Yo, what is going on, my fellow weebs? Grunner here, and welcome back to the channel. So today we are back with another Crystal of Atlan, I guess, like, guide video. I kind of hate calling these guides and tips videos, since when these new games come out, people like spam tips all over the place. This is just going to be another informational breakdown for you guys when it comes to gearing at Endgame. What should you be going after? What should you be using? What are some common inconsistencies, I'll call them, that are being spread around the community, and what I think is the better alternatives. If you're new, subscribing to the channel would help out a ton. We are on our way towards that 10K mark. We have been making a really crazy stride towards it. And if all of you guys who have been watching the videos were to subscribe, we'd hit it almost instantly. I want to set a light goal for this one, specifically because I've been asked quite a bit to cover a certain magical blade class. So maybe we'll go ahead and cover that in the next couple of videos. Let's say we can hit, last video we already almost broke 200. Let's say we hit 200 likes on this video, and we'll make the Magic Blade video either next or the video right after. So sub if you enjoy the channel, like if you enjoy this video, comment if I miss anything and let me know about it. And let's go ahead and get started. We're on our alt today to talk about the gearing process, just because he got lucky and it's kind of annoying. So we do have to work backwards a little bit and talk about stuff we talked about in the previous video, the previous gearing video, for the end game portion of this to make sense. So we're doing the 55 to 60 portion of this in gearing, and kind of some recommendations I'm going to give as we go along. First thing we need to talk about, though, to understand why we're doing things where we are and why these upgrades matter, is nullification. So nullification is kind of like gear score. Nullification is needed to get into pieces of content, and if you do not have the nullification to go into that piece of content, it will still let you in, but once you're up against the boss the nullification is required for, you basically, there's an aura around the boss, so you basically take consistent damage that you cannot avoid. It's not like you get far enough away from it, like you literally can't avoid it. You will take consistent damage and then you will die. Now the second part I have not personally tested, so take it with a grain of salt, but what I'm told is you also just don't get any loot, so you can't just be carried through that piece of content. Now, things have been changed between CN and global, so it's possible that might not be the case anymore. Just know that I personally haven't tested it, so if that isn't the case, your mileage may vary. It's something to keep in mind. You want your nullification is basically like your gear score, your check to get into content to begin with. So it's important to understand how that works first, to know why we're doing what we're doing. So we're gonna open up the gear page, and you're gonna see something, you're gonna be like, bro, what? We'll talk about it and we'll get to it. Just, leave it in the corner of your eye. So like I mentioned early on, when you're going through your leveling process, about 45, you're gonna be making your null gear. This null gear is gonna upgrade into your void gear. You're gonna make your full set, a ring, bracers, and necklace, and then just roll with it. And that's it. You're gonna keep doing that all the way till you get up to level 50. You've made your accessories. What are you doing next? You're making your void gear. How much void gear are you realistically making? What are you gonna be doing? How much can you actually set up, right? So based on your quests you're gonna be doing, while you're leveling, at a certain point, it's gonna ask you, let's see if we can get it here, to go into the void realm. Now this here, rim, is just for making your accessories. You'll do that, and then you're never gonna go back to this again. Ain't worth it. Ravine is so you get these little things here, these hyper engravings. Now these hyper engravings are used to upgrade your accessories and make your first set of void gear. So if we actually go over here to gear and go down to crafted, and we click on, let's go to breastplate, we'll go to void shadow. You can see that it takes 8 of those little engravings and 1 of these here, these void gear blueprints, which cost you like 10K at as a Yalms. I don't know how to pronounce his name. I call him Jam. Get rid of the L just for fun. But you take over to Edgy Wizard Boy, and you can buy these for 10K. Very easy to make. Now you're gonna get like 60 something of these the first time you go through this. You get 48 from the actual run. You get like some from a reward from the event quest thing. You get some from completing the quest as well. And that's gonna allow you to do one of two things. Either you can craft all of your accessories. The accessories are more expensive. So upgrading the accessory, it costs 16 of these. You can craft all of your accessories and a few pieces of gear, or you can craft all of your gear and upgrade 1 accessory. Now, it's up to you how you go about this. And actually, I think I'm going to switch over to my other alt. Yep, Magic Blade did it. Okay. So you can make a full set of gear and upgrade 1 accessory. You have enough to upgrade 1. You won't have enough to upgrade a second one. Now, in this situation, you can do one of two things. You can either wait till the next day, which I recommend doing, to be perfectly honest. I wouldn't do the second one. It's up to you realistically, but or you can go over here to trade, go over to materials, and pray their hyper engravings to purchase, because people buy them out almost instantaneously. Now, I don't really feel like it's worth farming out hyper engravings until like, realistically at all, but you do want to get enough to get what you want to get done, right? And then the rest of them you're going to sell. You can just sell them on the market. You wouldn't go and do content for hyper engravings. Like, let's say, for example, you have all hyper engravings you need. You've already gotten all the gear you're going to get. You've upgraded the alt you're going to be using. Yes, your alt's going to be using void gear for the most part, but you've upgraded all your characters. You're all set to go. You don't really need to worry about doing any more hyper engraving stuff. So running something like the Void Realm for hyper engravings, we go over here to the second one, like Ravine, isn't really worth your time to do. You're going to stop running this after you have all the hyper engravings that you need. You're going to be just running Valley and running the one afterwards. I don't remember the name. I have to go to my main to do that, but just because the resources from it, the rewards are like the good gear that you actually want for your character, as well as insignias, as well as the Magiterium, which is going to be useful. We'll talk about that later, and the Origin engravings. These are all going to be really, really helpful for you doing these once a day to get these rewards. On top of that, you also get these ultra engravings that you use to upgrade your void gear. Now, you can't trade these. You can't funnel them to your main. Eventually, you're going to have these on alts. That's why you just make void gear for your alt, because you're going to upgrade it. It's very, very inexpensive. But that does bring the question, how much gear do you make and where do you stop? And well, you can see that my Magi Blade is a little bit different than my other characters, because I feel like this is actually how you should go about this process, as opposed to the way that I've been going about it on my other characters. Now, you can go about it either way. It's up to you personally. But if you're curious about how much you need and what you should be making, if you upgrade all of your accessories and you make 7 total, so 3 accessories and 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces of armor, then you will have enough with the level 50 box they give you, because they do give you a level 50 box. Let me see if I can find where that box is. With this level 50 box, with this piece of gear that they give you, with this, you will have enough nullification to be able to get in that piece of content. This has like an extra 20 nullification. Not like it's going to really make a difference, but it means it's one less piece of void gear that you need to craft. It lets you save a little bit of resources to go ahead and jump right into this. However, it's not that great. It's good, don't get me wrong, but I would actually rather have the full void set bonus than have this piece of gear, because when you upgrade your void set, it's going to be stronger than this anyway. This is only never going to get any higher when it comes to this nullification. The cool thing you can do with this is that you can actually plus 12 this with a ticket they give you, which is really, really nice. And then what I did with mine personally, because I'm going to be crafting my gear anyway, I'm going to be making a full set, is I just threw it into this chest piece, plus 12 it. Now, I'm doing this because I know for a fact my alt's only going to ever use void. I'm not worried about any of the other stuff. He's only going to be upgrading to void. But on top of that, if I were to go back or do this again, I would still do the same thing. I would actually just toss this into this chest piece and go for the full set, because at the end of the day, again, nullification isn't actually providing you any extra stat. It doesn't mean that you take less damage or anything along those lines. It just means you can get rewards. Now, it does save you basically 1 piece of gear to make, right? You're not going to be able to make all of it anyway, but you are able to go ahead and get into that piece of content much faster. You can go ahead and get moving forward much quicker. So just keep that in mind. All you need is 4 pieces on the left and then your accessories, and you're good to go. You'll be able to do that. But with what you get the first day, it actually isn't enough for you to have that 2K nullifications, unless you go out and buy a little bit of these hyper engravings, or you have an alt also leveled that can go in and do this Ravine, right? Like they get the accessories they need to do Ravine, and then they just trade you over the hyper engravings. You can do this on alt and trade the hyper engravings over. If you don't want to buy them or sell them, you can do that pretty easy. It says shareable, all good to go. If it's tradable, you can sell it. If it's shareable, you can transfer between your characters and things like that, right? So you can't do it that way. That's totally fine and up to you how you want to go about that process. But for a vast majority of people, I feel like what's going to end up happening, you guys are going to look something like my homie here, right? You're going to be set up this way. This is pretty standard as far as that goes. It means you don't have to worry about making that gear, but you can go ahead and make that other void piece. So what I recommend making full void anyway, right? Well, getting this piece, this is Vermilion. I got this to drop. Yes, my alt got lucky, but getting these pieces here, you're guaranteed to get one of these every single day. After doing Abyssal Purgatory runs, you're guaranteed to get one of those pieces once this is full, right? So when this is full, it guarantees that you'll get a piece of gear. It may not always be for your class, so keep that in mind. You may not always get lucky like my alt did, but it guarantees you'll have a piece of gear. Now, that piece of gear isn't be important because it gives you a ton of nullification, right? If it's for your class, even better. If it's not for your class, still keep it. Reason for it is when you need that nullification for that piece of content. Let's say, for example, my main has 2600 nullification, meaning I have just enough to be able to get the first 2 bosses in the story mode version of the raid content. It allows me to go ahead and get the loot from that when I have those things equipped. But it is a bit weaker for me to equip those pieces of gear because they aren't actually doing anything actively for me. Let's say, for example, I have this ring here, right? I get some physical crit, I have, the nullification, and then I have the set bonus, right? If I replace this ring and lose the set bonus, I'm not saying that I would in this situation itself, but let's say I replace it with a ring that's for a warlock that gives me, umbral damage and magic crit and then nullification. Well, I gained nothing but nullification in that situation itself. I did gain a little bit of raw stat, and it's very minimal in most situations, but all I did is I broke my set bonus. If I need the nullification, that's great. If I don't need the nullification, then that sucks. So why does this matter? Like what you should be crafting, right? Like it's not that big of a deal. Well, it matters because of enhancements. So enhancements are kind of a pain. Enhancements are expensive. Upgrading your gear is expensive, and you want to make sure that you're kind of planning ahead for this process. Now, when you get the proper piece of gear, like let's say, for example, you luck out like my alt and you get, like say, the Vermilion Knight for your Berserker, well, you're going to want to use that. You're going to want to upgrade it, right? Well, keep in mind when you upgrade, you're gaining enhancement attributes. That's kind of like your major thing you're looking at here. And all these enhancement attributes are offensive. In the case of Berserker, HP is, so it's helpful because it helps us get higher HP pools. That way we're able to get a bigger damage buff for the amount of lost HP. But that might not always be the case for your class. It might be something like physical defense or something along those lines. So just using the piece of gear, even at base level, is actually still fairly useful, right? You're still getting some base stats and you're getting nullification. You don't have to go towards upgrading it, but you do want to upgrade your gear eventually to get the most power out of it you absolutely can. However, you don't want to take, like, let's say, for example, I got a pair of pants that wasn't for my class. Well, if I take these pants here, we'll pretend this isn't Vermilion, right? If I take this here and I go to pull this over, it is a enhancement inheritance, meaning I do lose some upgrades on this. Now, if I were to get a new piece of gear and I do this again with the one I actually want, then I lose more upgrades. Like you start to lose upgrades as you do the inheritance process. So you want to be a little bit frugal about how you go about the inheritance process. When you're upgrading your gear, you're going to be losing out on upgrades. You don't want to continuously do this process over and over and over again, right? And if I don't have my void gear on, right, I'm losing out on my set bonus anyway. And if I don't need a nullification, I gain nothing by holding this. You see why I mentioned why I explained nullification at the start and why this is a conversation of like, if you want to, you can, but you don't have to. If you're just concerned about getting as much nullification as possible to get into content as quickly as possible to be able to farm most effectively, then yeah, just slap on whatever happens to you, whatever you get. You can upgrade if you want to get the stats from it and you're good to go. Technically, some of them don't even actually give you offensive stats, so it may not even be worth upgrading, but just take what you get and then come from there. But realistically speaking, if it's not benefiting your character, it's not like it's something end all be all you need to go towards. So here's what I would recommend. And here's kind of like, I'm probably gonna put a timestamp into this specific spot because there's a lot of yapping that happened before here for everything we just talked about, but I like to give a full breakdown of all the things I'm thinking about whenever we make these ultimate decisions. So here is my recommendation based on each individual's way of playing. If you are not concerned with min-maxing for any bit of damage as you go along the lines, you just want to make sure that you be the most frugal possible. And the reason you want to be frugal is unbound gold is really freaking good. You can sell this for currency for pulls, right? So you want to make sure if you're saving your unbound gold as much as possible. That's what the whales are buying. They're giving you opals, so that way you can purchase pulls. So like, yeah, I understand being frugal, it's understandable. But if you want to be as frugal as possible and get into content, you're like, yeah, you know what? I'm able to clear content. I can clear content with my buddies. We can get through what we need to get through. And I want to make sure that I spend as little as possible, unless it's something I really, 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 really need, right? Then what I would recommend is you make void gear for the slots you don't have any epic gear in, epic being the yellow tier gear, right? Any epic gear in. You make void gear for those slots. And as you get new pieces of epic gear that is going to go in that slot, you then just transfer the void gear over to your epic gear. Just do it. You're going to lose a little bit of upgrade. That's okay. Not the end of the world. Go ahead and get it done. And then when you get that best in slot piece, slot that piece in. And of course, try to do the flawless transfer if you can get the item that you need for it. If you're of that type of player, then that's totally fine. Just go about that process. If you are someone who cares more about optimizing your damage, you're trying to push a little bit further forward, maybe you can help out your buddies, do the most you can for your group, or you just like seeing funny number be as high as possible without losing anything, I recommend you keep your void gear, keep it upgraded, hold on to any pieces you get and slot them in when you need the nullification. Don't upgrade them, don't do anything else with them. Just slot them in and use them when you need the nullification itself. And then when you get the BIS pieces you need, then transfer your stuff over and start using them. When you start getting a couple of pieces, I think it's actually worth breaking the set bonus for even just one piece, to be honest. The first piece can be pretty useful, unless it's like this effect isn't super big for your class. For me, it's pretty, I get some attack speed, I get damage during resonance, which is really, really nice. I get crit damage and base HP, which these are both very good. A lot of these things are actually pretty solid for Berserker. So basically slot them in as you start getting your best in slot pieces. And then once you do have that, you can start getting rid of the other pieces that you don't actually need, right? The yellow legendary pieces that aren't going to be all that useful for you. And that's it when it comes to the armor. Now, as far as enhancement, plus 12. Plus 12 across the board at the very least to start with. You can go further than that, but enhancements are expensive. We'll talk more about enhancements on a later date, but as far as like what you should be pushing for, just push for plus 12. That's gonna be a good stopgap for you to start with, and then you can push yourself higher from there. Weapon is always gonna be the most useful for you, as it's going to give you the most damage overall. And now we're gonna do something fun where we talk about the weapon, because the weapon, it can be a little different, a little interesting when it comes to the crafting process. So if you have the top up weapon, it levels up with you and you go all the way up to 55. If you don't have the top up weapon, you probably have a level, I want to say 50 weapon that's plus 7 that they give you when you hit level 50, and you're good to go from there. In both situations, you can technically do the same thing. There is this pink gear that you have access to that you can purchase outright. That is going to be better than your top up weapon. It's going to be better than the level 50 weapon that you have, and it can be upgraded. Now, this weapon is kind of like towards making a pity weapon, actually. So if we take a look, this is the actual gear that we want. I believe I want the Claymore of the Mad Dragon specifically. However, there is also this Mirage Gold weapon and the Starflame sword that you can upgrade from this piece of gear that you can buy, or the piece that you actually make. So you can buy this, it's a drop from dungeons, or you can make it with the Magistrite. Now this Magistrite, you get it from doing adventures, basically doing the elite story quests, or you can break down the higher tier version of it, the Magistrate. We're going to talk about it, which I wouldn't do since you need it to make this stuff anyway. So you can make this and then upgrade it here. Why would you ever do this? So one of two situations that you would be in. Either one, you're whaling and you're trying to go for the absolute most damage you possibly can as early on as you possibly can. This weapon is the most accessible and you're able to upgrade it as you move forward, right? It's fairly expensive because you're essentially either making this for 300k or buying it for like 100, which I would recommend just buying it, to be perfectly honest. They're cheap enough that you can purchase them and you can kind of cherry pick the best main stats as they don't roll the same. I would just buy this and then upgrade it if that's what you want to do. But the upgrade is like 3 mil. And then the next upgrade is 5 mil. So just keep that in mind. Yes, you are going to be stronger. You are going to have a stronger weapon, a level 60 weapon, which is awesome. But one, it's not going to be stronger than this. And two, it's going to be expensive as hell. So this is kind of like the pity weapon that you guarantee can get fairly easily, but it's expensive, as well as it's not as strong as the other option is available to you. But if you're whaling, just trying to get the most amount of power you possibly can. Some people just really want to be the absolute strongest possible and they will bust out the credit card to do it. This is the weapon you go for. Like this is it, right? This is what you're going after. If you happen to luck out and you get the actual good weapon, then yeah, so you want to use this weapon instead anyway. That's what you're going to go for, but that's what this is here for. If you didn't get the top up weapon, which is like, you can literally top up $1. That's what I did for my characters. Top up $1 and you get this. If you didn't get it, then I'd recommend purchasing one of these. It's fairly inexpensive, and then just sitting on that weapon itself. You can just use it. It's 55. It's upgradable. You can go and upgrade it, plus 12 it. That's totally fine. And then you can transfer it over to your next weapon as you move forward, granted. But of course, level 55 has to be an epic for it to transfer over and be able to use flawless transfer. So just keep that in mind. You are going to lose a little bit, but it's not the end of the world. And of course, you could always upgrade to this if you want to burn 3 mil on it. So there's that too. It's going to be pretty strong. You're going to be stronger than most of your friends. You're getting extra stat. You're getting extra damage. So it is pretty useful as far as your gear goes, but it's not the end of the world. So just keep that in mind as far as your upgrade goes. This is kind of your pity. The other situation where you would pick up this weapon is if you've gotten everything else. Let's say you've gotten all of your Vermilion gear, you've gotten your Earth Drake accessories, you have your seal, you have basically everything else, and you still don't have a weapon, and you still want to get that damage, just go ahead and make the weapon. If you have the resources, go ahead and make the weapon. I know some people, they'd be like, yo, I'm not doing it. I refuse. I'll wait till I get my weapon to drop. That's totally fine. But this is kind of like your guarantee to make sure that you actually get a weapon that's of epic level. Weapons carry you the furthest, so that's kind of the thing you want to go for. And that's pretty much it. That covers every aspect of the gearing process and what I would recommend moving forward. If you guys have any questions, feel free to leave them. Feel free to leave them in the comments below. Hopefully I did cover everything. We talked about circuits. Circuits are still circuits. I'll touch on them like super quick, but yeah, upgrade them to +8 if they get the substats you want. Cool. If they don't, hold on to it. Replace it for another one, try again, and then upgrade it to +20 afterwards. Which one should you upgrade first? Depends on your class. I'm upgrading, attack and HP because I'm a berserker. Of course, crit rate's also pretty important. Things like cooldown rate's also really nice. Maybe you are a Magi Blade and you want attack speed. That works too. As far as the stats you should be going for on your circuits, offensive stats. There's so many stats that you can get. Just go for the offensive stats for your class. So for example, I'm a berserker. If I get, crit rate, crit damage, cooldown, physique, HP, all of those things are fairly useful. If I get something like magic crit, I can't use that. If I get something like, you know, the magic attack or whatever, those sort of things that don't really work for me, those are kind of dead stats. So you just want 4 useful stats. They don't have to be perfect. Yes, getting perfect stats would be even better. So like, let's say you get crit rate, crit damage. In the case of Berserker, like let's say I get crit rate, crit damage, cooldown rate, and I don't know, maybe attack speed or physique or raw strength or something like that. Yeah, then yeah, that's an insanely good piece, and that's absolutely what I want to trace after. But if I get 4 offensive stats, good enough, because you'll be rolling these for a long time. This is basically like the extra gearing process that you have, similar to that of like Genshin or Wuthering Waves, something along those lines. And yeah, insignias. Should you slot in insignias? Just use the blue ones until you get like your forever gear. When you get like your actual best of slot gear, things like this, then you can start using the expensive insignias that are actually good, like the yellow ones and stuff like that. But you can just slot in the blue ones for now, and then, you know, just rip them off afterwards. I wouldn't worry too much about them. You get quite a few of them anyway as you go through the leveling process. Don't think too hard on it. You're not really going to worry about it all that much. You'll get insignias. Maybe you'll sell them for the gold. Maybe you'll use them. It's up to you at the end of the day. That's it. That's all I got for you guys. I've yapped on long enough. I have a stream to get around to. I have breakfast to eat. I've got tons of things I need to do. And maybe we get around to that magic blade. Either way, like if you enjoyed, subscribe when you keep up with more. As always, thank you to the channel members. You guys are fantastic, and I appreciate every single one of you. And I will see you all in the next video. Take care, my friends. Peace out.